Welcome to another episode of ECCB Connects. On this week's program, we speak with Kerstin Petty, Director of the St. Kitts branch of the Financial Services Regulatory Commission, about how the FSRC is working to protect the people it serves. Stay with us. We'll be right back. It's here, the family of EC polymer notes, our new money.
Here's what you can do to ensure your EC polymer notes remain clean and last longer. Dry wet notes with cloth or paper towel. Wipe soiled notes with a damp cloth. You can carry your notes in your wallet, purse, or pocket. However, avoid creasing, crumpling, or stapling your polymer note. If by accident your polymer note gets tumbled in the washing machine or dryer, you can take out the creases by smoothing the note with your hand. Do not iron your polymer note. New polymer notes may cling together. You can loosen them by tapping the notes against a hard surface or shuffling them.
EC polymer notes, our new money. Cleaner, safer, stronger. Kerstin, welcome to ECCB Connects.
Thank you, Karina. Thank you for having me.
Now, you head up the St. Kitts branch of the Financial Services Regulatory Commission. What is the role of the FSRC?
The FSRC, Financial Services Regulatory Commission, is the regulatory authority for non-bank financial institutions in St. Kitts and Nevis. We are also responsible for anti-money laundering and countering financing of terrorism measures in the Federation. We ensure that they are licensed in accordance with the legislation that they will fall under. We are also responsible for supervising these institutions, ensuring that their policies and procedures are in accordance with the legislation. Our role also includes consumer awareness and protection, ensure that the stakeholders or the customers for the various institutions are treated fairly, and whatever is being offered to them, the services, the products, are in accordance with the law.
So in a nutshell, you ensure that those financial institutions are following the rules, that they're in compliance with all the regulations.
Correct.
Now, Kerstin, how do the officers of the FSRC actually go about executing the work of regulation and ensuring compliance is being met by your licensees?
The regulatory team at the Financial Services Regulatory Commission, our mandate is twofold. We conduct on-site examinations as well as off-site surveillance. For on-site examinations, we would go into the institutions, we would review documents, we would look at manuals, we would have interviews with staff to ensure that the operations are in accordance with policy. With regards to off-site surveillance or desk review, the registered entities are required to submit documents to us as required by the legislation, and we will do our analysis based on the submission. These include audited financial statements, their quarterly reporting forms, and we can also request any other information that would assist us with our analysis of the operations of the institutions.
Kerstin, now how does your work actually trickle down and affect the man on the street? You talk about, ensuring that these companies are following the rules, you do your inspections, but how does that affect me or, anybody in the public?
So part of our mission in doing the on-site examinations is to ensure that the offers or the products, the services that are being offered to the general public are in accordance with the policies and procedures of the institution. Our mandate includes protecting the consumer, and if there is a client who feels that they are being cheated in any way, they can come to the FSRC, they can make a complaint, we will investigate, we will meet with the client, we will act as a mediator between the client and the financial institution, and we will try to ensure that there is a resolution that would be satisfactory for all the persons involved.
So as a consumer or as a customer to any business that you regulate, if I felt I was taken advantage of, I actually have an avenue of recourse to come to the FSRC and say, this company I felt treated me in a particular way, and you actually go out and conduct an investigation to try to address my concern.
That is correct, Karina. We will make a request of the company to submit to us information pertaining to your particular issue. We will review the documents. We will invite you in for a discussion. Most of the time, the consumer has not read the fine print. We will make sure that you have been made aware of what you would have signed. If we are satisfied that your complaint has merit, we will go back to the institution and we will ensure that there is a resolution to the particular issue.
Now, you spoke of the legislation that underpins what the FSRC actually does. What happens in the case where there is a financial institution that is not in compliance with something in the law? What happens to that institution?
Okay, so the FSRC Act has a range of what we call sanctions. The first approach is always to reach out to the institution, the management, and have a discussion on the matter. That is always our first approach. If that fails to bring some sort of resolution, our first sanction is a warning letter. The warning letter will basically state what the issue is, what the breach is, and to immediately have a cease and desist. If that fails, then we go a step further and we can suspend the license. So there are different ranges of sanctions that are available to the FSRC.
From what you said, the role of the FSRC is not to be a big stick, coming down on persons or businesses. It's actually to ensure that they are following the rules and living up to the promises that they've put forward.
That is correct, Karina, and we never use the big stick approach as a first approach. Our first approach is always to have a discussion, a cordial discussion on the matter, and to come to some agreement as to how we can resolve the issue. Failure to do so would then result in us taking the sanctions that I would have mentioned.
You mentioned customers not reading the fine print of things they've signed. What are some of the most common issues you see coming to you at the FSRC?
Most of the times, customers become disgruntled because they feel that they're taken advantage of, and when they bring their matter to the FSRC, we go through the documents that they would have signed. In most instances, they have not read through the document in its entirety and would have missed some of the features or some of their responsibilities. And that is why we try to encourage persons before they sign any document to read it through thoroughly. Do not be rushed, take the time and read it through before you're signing. By reading it through, you're made aware of what your responsibilities are. And this is the most common issue that we've had to deal with at the FSRC. Dealing with customers who think that they have been made or given some responsibility that they did not sign on to. But in truth and in fact, it is there. But they have not read through the document thoroughly.
Because I know of cases, specifically when it comes to loans, where people sign documents, sometimes they say they feel they signed it under duress, and they come back and they say, well, I didn't know about this and that, but it was all there along.
Yes, you've mentioned loans, and that is the most typical example that we've encountered. Persons will come to the FSRC and make a complaint as to the repayment terms on a loan. But the institution will provide us with the document that would show that the person signed the agreement. And again, we encourage you, if you're given a loan document, a policy document, you read it through, you ensure that you are made aware, you ask questions if something is not clear.
Because it is your right, and no, the officer should not push you or shouldn't hurry you. It is your right to make sure you know exactly what you're signing up for.
Yes, it is. It is a contract, and as a party to that contract, you should be given time to read it through and to understand what the terms and conditions are.
Now, Kerstin, the FSRC is there to ensure that the businesses, the financial institutions that they regulate are following the letter of the law. But But what is the responsibility of the consumer in these interactions?
A very important point, Karina. Consumers should make sure that the financial institution that they are doing business with is properly licensed or registered. By being licensed or registered, you are covered under the legislation of St. Kitts and Nevis. So before you are engaged by anyone representing a financial institution, it is your right to ask them for their registration or license certificate. Failure to do so will mean that you are not covered by the law and the FSRC cannot assist you.
So it's a risk if I decided to do business with this non-registered entity?
That is correct.
Or if the business refuses to show their license, I should turn away?
Correct, because a reputable business, somebody who is doing things above board and in accordance with the law, should have no difficulty in sharing their certificate of license or registration with you. So that is an immediate red flag if you ask for a certificate and they cannot produce one.
Now, are there specific requirements in terms of displaying or showing the license or certificate?
Yes, there are, Karina. The law requires that once an institution receives a license certificate, it should be prominently displayed at the place of business. Now, if it is an agent or an individual representative of an institution who is registered to do business on behalf of that institution, that person would or should have their certificate with them to share with a potential customer as well.
So if an agent, for instance, a salesperson of sorts came up to me, I have the right to ask, or they should be carrying that proof that I am legitimate and I have the right to conduct this business?
That is correct. A sales representative should be registered, or if the person is employed by the institution, they should have the relevant ID to say, well, this is the institution that I work with.
Kerstin, thanks so much for speaking with us today on ECCB Connects and for sharing with us how the FSRC works to protect not only businesses but consumers as well.
Thank you, Karina. Thank you very much for having me.
To view any episode of ECCB Connects anytime, any place at your convenience, check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn at ECCB Connects.
And now for this week's financial tip.
Hi, I'm Curdell Rose from the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange with your financial tip. You need to create a roadmap to achieve your financial goals. If you're better prepared, as life changes, you'll be able to change with it.
We've come to the end of this week's episode of ECCB Connects. Thanks for watching and see you next week when we bring you another program.